Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we're going to talk the first round and the reaction and how this is going to affect whether it be redraft or, of course, dynasty, which I think is going to be the biggest thing for all of us. How are these players going to affect our dynasty teams, our rookie drafts that are coming up? And most of you are probably drafting this weekend because you're very anxious, ready to go and just get things going. So we're going to jump right into this. We're going to go, I wouldn't say pick by pick, but I'm going to talk about things that I think are going to help you guys kind of determine where you should be drafting some of these folks. Who is it going to affect? Maybe you should talk about buys and sales, and we'll do a separate video totally on that and what you should be looking for, again, based off of what happened. Now, Bryce Young, first pick overall. Nobody was shocked by that. I think realistically, like anything else, all these teams are doing smoke and mirrors just to get other teams to figure out who's going to go where. It's all a game, right? At this point, it's all a game. We all knew, or at least you should have known, Bryce Young was going to be the first pick. And realistically, in a super flex, he is going to be your first quarterback. Now, you may fall in love with Stroud, which I am. I'm a Stroud believer. I'm going to take Stroud over Bryce Young. And even both teams, realistically, they're not great. So weapon-wise, it's not like one is phenomenally better than the other. But with that said, Bryce Young absolutely should be your first 2 to 3 picks in your super flex. He's got great talent. Obviously, his height is a concern, which is going to be the biggest thing for him. I don't know how that's going to play out. I do think he has the ability. He's very smart. He's intelligent. He makes good plays. He is a playmaker. I don't think the height is going to be the biggest concern. Where I am concerned with him is his body size. Yes, the height's there, but really it's his weight. If he could build a little bit more muscle, be able to take those hits from some of these big defensive linemen, linebackers, things like that, just to stay healthy, I think Bryce is going to be a really good quarterback and have a bright future. Now, the second pick was CJ Stroud. Not a shocker there. I know there was a lot of the whole testing and all this different situation. My reaction was, if they didn't take Stroud, I actually would have been really surprised. I felt Stroud was the better overall quarterback compared to Bryce. Yes, Stroud had a lot of weapons, right? And I know that's going to play a factor where some people use that as a crutch and say, well, Bryce didn't have the same weapons as Stroud, but he still did phenomenal. I get it. But Stroud has good size, good arm strength. He does sometimes make a little bit of mental mistakes, but that's okay. He's going to learn. He's going to get better. I like him in the Texan outfit as far as Mechie hopefully coming back, playing his first season. I like Collins. You've got some decent weapons, guys, like Dameon Pierce behind you. They're going to build, right? They've got to. But I like Stroud at the number 2 spot. I like Stroud in my super flex as the number 2 pick because 101, even we'll talk about it, it's still going to be Bijan. But I like Stroud a lot. I think this is a good pick for the Texans. Could they have gone different ways and then possibly get Caleb Williams next year? Possibly, because obviously this roster is not built to win a lot of games and will most likely be the 101, which they unfortunately traded away at this point. But again, Stroud, absolutely a hit. I believe it's going to be big for the Texans. Not saying he's Deshaun Watson-esque, but he's going to have good ability. I think he's going to be their future. I don't think he's going to be a bust. We'll see if it actually comes true, but I like him a lot. Now, the biggest shock to me was Anthony Richardson to the Colts. Huge upside for Anthony Richardson. Not really sure how this is going to play out. There's a lot of accuracy issues. There were a lot of things that a lot of people were afraid of with Anthony Richardson. And maybe, with the possibility of just development, off-season work, things like that, he's going to be the day one starter. It's just the way it's going to be. You draft him this high, you're going to put him in there. But what I do like about this, especially for dynasty and other purposes, I think he only helps Jonathan Taylor with the ability of which Richardson can do on the ground with Jonathan Taylor as well. And I love what it's going to do for Michael Pittman. I loved Michael Pittman always. I've been a big fan of him for the past couple of years. And I always told people you should try to buy him because his value has always been wishy-washy with the quarterback situation. I like this pick for Richardson. I like what this is going to do for Michael Pittman. I think his stock is obviously going to only increase. I think his buy value is going to go up a little bit, so it's probably going to be a little bit tougher, but I really like what this is going to be for the Indianapolis Colts. They need a big playmaker. A lot of people comparing him to Donovan McNabb type of skill set. I don't know if I would quite say that. I think he's actually more athletic than McNabb, but we'll see. He's got a gun for an arm. He just got to work on his, his medium to short accuracy, he can definitely throw it down the field. So I'm excited for what they're going to do with him, and I like what is going to happen for Jonathan Taylor and, of course, Michael Pittman. Now, Bijan going to the Falcons was, I wouldn't say the biggest shock. I think a lot of people started seeing it happening before the draft happened, and I understand what Atlanta was doing. You grab a stud running back, the talent of what he is capable of, pairing that with Kyle Pitts and Drake London. Now you just got to hope and pray that Ritter can actually perform like I think he can. Again, I've always said Ritter is the poor man's Dak, and I know people have their opinions on Dak, but I like what Ritter can do, and I think getting those weapons around him helps. Obviously, Tyler Allgeier's stock absolutely tanked, unfortunately. Are they going to use him? Of course. He's on a rookie contract. There's no reason to get rid of him. He's definitely a good back. He's not as athletic or as much of an explosive burst like Bijan. And Bijan's definitely the more overall. I was hoping Bijan was going to go to a team that really needed a strong running back that didn't have somebody to really compete. Allgeier will get some shares. I don't know how this is going to play out. Bijan still should be your 101. I understand if you go Stroud or Bryce or Richardson at the 101. I understand the idea of that, especially in Superflex, and then someone else gets Bijan a little bit later. But his talent is so undeniable. He's such a generational back, like a Barkley, McCaffrey, Ezekiel Elliott, things like that, that you still have to take him. Now, I have the 101 in a few leagues, and I will tell you just based off of what I saw last night and kind of just my thought process was, I would say of the 3 leagues that I have the 101, 2 of them I'm absolutely still taking him. I want the stud running back. I need the stud running back. And again, they're hard to find. Now, one of them, I don't necessarily need running back. It's not a need for me. So at that point, I'm looking to see what people are willing to do to get Bijan at 101. And really, you could turn that around. I've had one draft where I've gotten, the 103 and the 112. Again, I could get the quarterback I want. I get some value of 112. I'm okay with losing Bijan at that point. It all depends. But again, I think you still take him. I think it helps, obviously, Kyle Pitts. I think it helps Drake London. Helps, absolutely, Desmond Ritter. Allgeier, unfortunately, is the one who takes the hit in this one. Now, next player, which was, I think, the biggest shock, and I think everyone across Twitter and anybody you could think of, Jahmyr Gibbs to Detroit blew everybody's mind. Jahmyr Gibbs is not the problem. Very talented, Alvin Kamara-like-esque type player. I was really hoping he was going to go to a different team because realistically, if you look at Detroit, you have DeAndre Swift, and you just paid for David Montgomery. I understand Swift is probably not the guy for you guys. This is a different, ownership, GM and coaches and all this stuff. Totally get it. Swift is not your guy. He will be traded most likely, and I'm hoping he goes to a good team because I'm still a Swift believer. A lot of you guys probably have not. You're probably fallen off, but I still believe in him. But the fact that you had Swift and you paid for David Montgomery and then Gibbs, not really sure of that. I think Gibbs was kind of a reach. I understand his talent. I think he's going to be a great playmaker. I do like Gibbs. You're still going to draft Gibbs pretty high. I don't think he's going to fall later in the first rounds in your rookie drafts. If he does, I think that's a steal. I don't think I'm going quite as high as I was before. I could have easily gotten Gibbs in the 4th pick, maybe the 5th pick. I would probably put him around the 6th, 7th pick if possible, depending on what happens, because you're going to go Bijan and then 3 quarterbacks at least. So that puts you in the 5th, 6th spot. But Gibbs definitely worries me a little bit. I have some other players in mind I would probably take. Again, Detroit definitely did not need this. And you guys let me know in the comments if you guys agree with me or if you think this was just an absolute great pick and it only helps for you, the draft capital in your rookie picks. But again, I think I would have rather have seen Detroit go somewhere else and Gibbs falling somewhere. But again, good for Gibbs. I think this is going to be a great offense for him. You've got Jared Goff there. You've got obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jameson when he does come back from his whole betting situation, unfortunately. But again, good spot for him. I just didn't like what they did. Jackson, Smith, and Jigba definitely is going to be the guy I probably will end up picking over Gibbs. Now, he went to Seattle. I guess I'm indifferent with this. I think with him going there, I think he becomes the Lockett replacement with obviously Lockett's age. I think he's 29 right now. So the age is obviously there. So you're kind of getting a replacement, very similar talent, skill set, obviously a little bit better prospect coming out of college and can definitely be a big playmaker alongside a big, fast DK Metcalf. I think only helps. And I think it definitely helps Geno Smith. Now, in the first year or so, I don't know if Smith Jigba will have the value that you're hoping for, that you were rooting for in this draft, just because, again, if you're spending a 104, 105, 106 on Njigba, you were hoping he was going to be a pretty good starter for you in this year and obviously years to come. He is definitely going to be more of a dynasty future. I don't think necessarily year one he's going to be a Garrett Wilson type of player or a Olave type of player. He has the ability, don't get me wrong, but because you've got Lockett and DK Metcalf, and you got Kenneth Walker in the back, and love to run the ball in Seattle. I don't know if he's going to have that value quite yet. He's going to be somebody you're definitely investing in for the future because of what he can do and bring. And again, pretty much be the replacement of Lockett. Now, again, I think this absolutely helps Geno Smith in the next 2 to 3 years, because obviously that's what your expectation of Geno is, that he's going to play there for at least 2 to 3 years. But I do like this for him. I think his stock only helps. Again, he's definitely going to help you in that super flex role. So I like this for Geno Smith. Zay Flowers is another receiver that went off the board who went to Baltimore. I love Zay Flowers. I just wanted him to go anywhere else but Baltimore. I understand. Lamar Jackson got his big deal, and that's totally worth it. I'm glad he got his deal. It's good for Baltimore. It's good for Lamar. It's good for the league. But Lamar really hasn't had the weapons that I would say he does now, right? You've got Zay Flowers now, who I absolutely love. I was hoping he'd fall to Dallas. You've got Odell, which I'm not the biggest fan right now with his injuries and his age. I know everyone's thinking it's the name at this point, but I get it. You still have a very good, very talented veteran wide receiver. You've got Rashad Bateman, who I've always had some good. I've always liked what he's able to do. His health is a concern. So you do have some good weapons. And then, of course, you got Mark Andrews. So Lamar finally has some players to throw the ball to. He hasn't really had that in the past. Really, he had Rashad Bateman at one point, Hollywood Brown. But this is a team that absolutely loves to run the ball. You've got Dobbins, you've got Gus Edwards, you got Lamar's legs, right? This is a team that's going to run the ball. I think this actually hurts Zay Flowers a little bit more than it does bring value. Does it help Lamar? Yes. Does it hurt Zay? Yes. Because I think Zay Flowers was definitely going to be in the late first round in your rookie drafts. I could see him falling down just because of the look of where he ended up going into this draft. Being a first-round receiver definitely helps his draft capital. So, again, he's going to have some value there. But I'd like to see a little bit more. But because a lot of you guys are probably drafting this weekend, I would probably stick towards the end of the first round, early second round of your draft. I would probably pick another receiver, though, if you had like Quentin Johnston or Addison in there. But I always thought Zay was my number one receiver in this draft, and it just hurts me to see him go there. I wish it was somewhere else. Speaking of receivers, again, we're going to talk Jordan Addison, went to Minnesota. Absolutely excited for that. Not the biggest receiver, I get it. But what he's going to be able to bring, opposite of a Jay Jetta, is going to be huge. Helps Kirk Cousins, helps Jefferson out absolutely, because now you've got a really good receiver. Nothing against Adam Thielen, but Thielen was nowhere near the talent of Addison. Thielen was a very reliable, especially a red zone receiver. Addison's definitely going to be a good playmaker, and he's going to actually thrive and live off of those targets that, again, Thielen's gone, and Jefferson's going to get double covered. I love this for him. I love where he went. Who it does hurt, and I was expecting and had some high hopes, was KJ Osborne. Osborne, I thought, really was going to be a solid wide receiver too, and actually really do a good job. He showed flashes of that last year when he filled in for Adam Thielen. This definitely hurts Osborne's stock in Dynasty, and I wish it hadn't happened because I felt really good about him. I actually grabbed a few shares because he was in waivers in a few leagues. I absolutely hate this for him, but I do love this for Jordan Addison. Another receiver was Quentin Johnston. Look, to the Chargers, this is Mike Williams' clone. Like I always said, this is another Mike Williams. He's got the talent, the size. He always had that, just like Mike Williams. Mike Williams obviously had some injuries to him, which was a concern. I don't know if that's going to happen to Johnston, but I don't know if this is a replacement for Mike Williams. Maybe this is something that I thought, wow, why would you pick the same type of receiver? Chargers do love big style receivers. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and now Johnston. This absolutely helps Herbert, though. Justin Herbert finally has some good receivers. If one of them goes down, because unfortunately, like last year, Keenan Allen was out, then Mike Williams was out, you have another good receiver. I think this helps him. I like Quentin Johnston. I think he's going to go. I have him above Addison and Zay Flowers now based off of where he went in the draft, just because you've got a stud quarterback throwing to you. So his stock has definitely gone up for me, and I think he's going to be the number 2 receiver behind Njigba at this point in the draft. But again, it's kind of interesting how this is going to play out for Mike Williams. I think he's definitely somebody that now has lost a little bit of value. His trade value has definitely changed. And again, on our next video, what we do, we're going to do some buy and selling based off of this draft. He might be one of those guys I mentioned. Last player I want to talk about is Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid to Buffalo actually is a big thing. Dawson Knox obviously takes a hit. I get that. But Kincaid was definitely going to be the number one tight end. He is a receiver with a very big body. Okay, that is what you're looking at as far as Kincaid goes. And that only helps Stephon Diggs, helps Josh Allen, right? You've got another weapon for Josh Allen to throw to, and he loved to tight end. He loved Dawson Knox. Now, don't get me wrong, Dawson Knox will still be in there. He's going to be the tight end too. I think Knox does lose that role as tight end one. Knox is definitely a better blocker than Kincaid. Kincaid is definitely going to be somebody you're going to see in the third down roles, red zone roles, things like that. So I love his value. Kincaid is definitely somebody I'm drafting in the middle, I'd say early second, middle round of second round, depending on obviously where your running backs fall. And we'll see what day 2 brings to the NFL draft and where these running backs, because there's a lot of great talent still in the NFL. So I do like this for Kincaid. Again, I think this is perfect for him. So that's kind of my reaction as far as the first round goes. There were some great things. Obviously, there were a lot of great defensive players, some great offensive linemen. You guys let me know how you felt about the NFL draft. Did your team get the player you really wanted? Did they stink it up? Let me know how you feel about some of these players in fantasy, if they increased or lost some value for you in your eyes. And again, if you guys have any questions about trades, things like that, while this offseason is going on, hit us up in the comments down below. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys are subscribed. We'll be doing content like this, Dynasty content, all offseason to get you guys ready. And of course, closer to the actual season, we'll be doing a lot of mock drafts, especially for you redraft fans. So again, make sure you guys are following us. Make sure you guys subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. Hit that like button, and I'll check you guys out next time.